My name is Kibel, and I'm a partner with the law firm of Davis & Gilbert in New York. And this panel is Running the Network, Business, Legal, and Practical. Since everything in this industry tends to revolve around the networks, we figure it would be a good time to talk about it. And hopefully the room will fill up a little bit more after people realize they're not that interested in Facebook, and they'll come over here. To my left is Mary Beth Padian, who is from LoyLogic, and Adam Weiss from LinkShare. You may be asking, what's a lawyer doing involved in affiliate marketing? Well, like it or not, lawyers are involved in every industry in the United States because there are important issues that come up. And I've been involved in affiliate marketing for a very long time, going back to the lovely affiliate summit on the boat in 2003. So let me let each of the panelists introduce themselves to you, and then we have a couple slides that we're going to go through, and then open up the panel for questions up here and also questions from the audience. Mary Beth?
Thank you, Gary, and thank you all for coming. I'm sure it was a very hard choice between this and Facebook, and we very much appreciate it. So, as Gary said, my name is Mary Beth Padian. I've been involved in affiliate marketing for approximately 10 years. Both on the network side, I worked at BeFree, which actually was the first sort of anti-network, before we acquired CJ, and then CJ was acquired by ValueClick. Whoa. And after that, I worked at a combination of different loyalty programs, SchoolPop, UPromise, and Cause Loyalty. And I'm thrilled to be working with LoyLogic now, helping them launch an international affiliate shopping mall. And also to be able to share with all of you in here sort of the case study of working on that and talking about networks in the US and also then networks abroad. So thank you again for coming.
Right, and my name is Adam Weiss. I'm the Vice President of Network Development at LinkShare, and what that means is I'm responsible for the publisher side of the business at LinkShare, business development, account management, network quality, and our publisher support team. I've been at LinkShare for over 6 years, and before that I was at About.com and also at 24/7 Media. So I've been in the online marketing industry for over 10 years, always on the publisher side of the business, and glad to be up here.
All right, great. We'll turn over to Mary. Do you want to sit or stand? Your choice.
I think I'll stand.
Okay.
I use this instead of...
Yeah, either one.
Clearly we didn't use the time to practice. When we were talking about how we would come up and do some introductions and talk about this panel and our various experiences, Gary, Adam, and I, we decided it might be informational and interesting for me to share sort of the case study that we have been doing at LoyLogic. And specifically to give you some background, LoyLogic is a leading global provider of points, earn and burn solutions to loyalty programs. And we help those loyalty programs increase their member engagement by combining technology, loyalty innovation, and the fastest growing global merchant network. Our goal, which was pretty aggressive, was to build an international online accrual mall, so shop online, earn miles, right, for your purchases, within 3 months for our client Etihad Airlines. For those of you who don't know, and I certainly didn't until I started working at LoyLogic, Etihad Airlines is the national airlines of the United Arab Emirates, and their loyalty program Etihad Guest. And our challenge within this goal was that the mall had to include top merchants and their brands for the key markets within the Etihad loyalty program, which included United Arab Emirates, Australia, and the UK, and India as well. So the result, I'm thrilled to be able to say, is that we did launch the online mall on time with over 5 networks, over 200 merchants, shipping to every country in the world. And we couldn't have achieved this goal without utilizing affiliate networks. So the advantages of networks, and those of you who are either merchants or affiliates know this already, but just to recap them, clearly the speed to market, being able to create an online mall or any site within 3 months or within 3 weeks, depending on what your timing is. The economies of scale that a network will give you. You can easily partner with hundreds or thousands of merchants, depending on the network that you choose. Accounting efficiency, being able to receive one check across multiple merchants instead of having to invoice those merchants yourself and do the collections. Single point of contact, right? A publisher development team or person, someone who works for Atom or the other networks who's able to help you sort of navigate the ins and outs of that specific network. And finally, for us, specifically internationally, but I think also for international affiliates looking to get into the US or other countries, having that expertise within a local country and within a local market to be able to share with you what sells, what doesn't, and what's going to work. Of course, on the side of every advantages, there are always disadvantages or challenges of working with networks. And so there's really a price that you pay for that efficiency and the speed to market. And I would say one of the biggest prices to pay, which we've all decided is worth it, is that one size fits all. So that individual publisher needs cannot easily be met by any one network. And of course they can't, because that's not their business. They would go out of business if they responded that way. But it's also a challenge if you're on that affiliate side. Very early stage international capabilities. And I think international means something different to all of us. Before I started at LoyLogic, international to me was, let's say, the UK, maybe some people in Europe. Talking about Etihad being in 182 countries, international is truly global. So to be able to go into the Middle East, the Baltics, India, Australia, New Zealand, there aren't that many, if any, networks yet that have begun to develop those international capabilities. And it almost made me think about affiliate marketing, let's say 8 or 10 years ago, in the very early stages. But the good thing about today is that we have 10 plus years of knowledge on how to do it right and do it across international markets. Technical documentation. For those of you who are new affiliates out there, it may often be hard to be able to find in one place a very easy overview of the information you're looking for about downloading transaction files, how do you reconcile payments, how do you make sure you put up your links so that they track correctly. There doesn't seem to be, within any one network, a very easy place to go to. And I have to say, even though Adam is on the panel, I would say this anyway, LinkShare for us has been the easiest place to go and find that information within their help section, but still not 100%. Sorry. And then finally, very little consistency across networks. Right? Networks were started, I was thinking about this morning, networks were started and exist for a very simple reason. They exist to drive and increase transactions between their merchants or their advertisers and their affiliates and their publishers. It's one common goal. So how can we get a little more consistency across that? So part of my New Year's resolutions for 2010 was to try to become more of an optimist. So I figured I should probably come up with some solutions to the challenges instead of just leaving as here's the bad part. So some ideas I came up with that may be fodder for discussion during today or perhaps later. To address the concern about one size fits all, what if you could create a toolbox across the different verticals that exist for publishers, whether it's coupon, whether it's content, whether it's social, whether it's mobile. The questions are the same based on the vertical. What if you could create something very easy that would answer those questions? And again, would be able to increase the flow of transactions between the merchants and the affiliates. Looking across international, right? Clearly, the networks in the US and the networks abroad want to expand their international capabilities. In the US, the networks have done a fantastic job of creating advisory boards of affiliates across different verticals that will help them give insight into what's new in the coming up for their needs as publishers, and then also what needs could they anticipate having, let's say, in the next few years. Why not do the same thing on an international capability so that you could find out what do true international affiliates need? What kind of currency concerns do they have, etc. The technical documentation, similar to the toolbox idea, you just have a very simple, here's how you get started. 1, 2, 3, very simple laid out so that you can minimize the back and forth of questions and again, get to that start of the transaction flow, which is what we use networks for to begin with, whether you're a merchant or an affiliate. And then finally, the idea about the consistency would be to expand, let's say the PMA right now, fantastic in the US domestically, talking about what are the concerns within the pay-for-performance marketplace, expand that internationally. So you could take that dialogue across the borders and begin to expand the understanding and the needs on both the merchant side and the affiliate side. And that's it from an affiliate perspective.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. So now I'm going to take a quick look at network issues from the legal side, because there's certainly a lot in there. So let's start off by looking at the affiliate marketing ecosystem. So of course, in the middle, we have the networks. But there's a lot going on here. What else do we have? Well, we've got the merchants, advertisers, and obviously we've got the affiliates, publishers. But there's more going on. We have consumers who are at the end of the chain, who are an incredibly important part of this chain. There are vendors, service providers you may use for analytics, for ad serving, for email delivery, for a whole bunch of other tracking. There may be other networks that either the affiliate and or merchant are working with. And as we know, there's more affiliates and more affiliates and more affiliates. There's a lot of people there. And with all of these parties involved, there are contracts between all of these parties and a lot of different relationships. This is not just one simple agreement between all the parties. Everyone's got their own little relationship. And then looking down on everything that's going on here, we also have the regulators who are keeping an eye on this entire ecosystem and scrutinizing the different relationships that are going on here. So with all these different relationships, what type of contracts are going on? Well, you've got agreements between networks and affiliates. And you've obviously got agreements between networks and merchants. You've also got agreements directly between some affiliates and the merchants through special terms that are facilitated through the networks. And then, of course, the affiliates will have agreements with the consumer on their website, and the consumer will have an agreement with the merchant when they make a purchase. There's a lot of things going around. Now, what's the most common way that everyone agrees to a contract online? It's usually click, I agree. And a lot of people sometimes tend to use pre-check boxes. Now, the FTC really doesn't like this. And this quote here, just from a few months ago, from the director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection, he said, "The practice of using pre-check boxes in an online sales transaction is insidious, simply a way to entrap unwary consumers who don't read the tiny print of dense disclosures," that's drafted by the lawyers, thank you, "or click through every available link on the site. And perhaps it should be considered inherently deceptive and unfair." So that was pretty much, slamming pre-check boxes. And I always advise clients, don't do pre-check boxes. Make the consumer do something to indicate they agree. Now, hopefully they're not clicking I agree to a document that's 25 pages long, and on page 22 it explains to them what's really happening. You want to make things very upfront and clear to the consumer so they're not confused. But there really hasn't been an enforcement action against pre-check boxes specific on that issue, but I think it's eventually coming, especially with negative options and things like that. All right, so I showed you on that slide, 2 slides ago, all these arrows going every which way. So, what's the importance of all these contracts? Well, they lay out some very, very important things. And I know you may not like to hear it, but there's actually, unfortunately, a lot of litigation going on in the affiliate space. Well, one of the most important things in that contract is just very basic. What am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? The contract should be very clear. What are our responsibilities? I'm telling you, there are some times I would read a contract and I finish reading the entire thing, and as an outside person, a third party, I'm like, I have no idea what each party is supposed to do. So, as business folks, you need to get involved and say in the contract up front, what are each of us supposed to do? Now, you may have heard of indemnification. Now, what does that mean? So this is going to be your little law school 101, so you can all become jailhouse lawyers. So what that basically means is, if you get sued by somebody else, I'll take care of it. That's a big, big issue, and that's in almost all the contracts you click, yes, I agree to, that you sign. That if the other party gets sued, you're going to take care of it. Well, the big issue, that goes back to point number 1, responsibilities. What am I responsible to take care of? And that's a very big thing to say. If there's something wrong with my advertising and you get sued, I'll take care of it. But some contracts say, if anything goes wrong with our entire relationship, you take care of it. That may not be so fair. The next thing, limitation liability, that means how much money can I get? If we had a contract that said under no circumstance am I ever liable to you for more than $10, you're never going to bother to sue anybody because you just can't recover anything, and it's real. It really makes a difference. And the last thing that's important for your Law School 101 is jurisdiction. This is one thing I always read when I go through because I'm like the only person in the world who reads click terms. It says, if we're going to have a lawsuit between the two of us, where are we going to go? Are we going to go to your state? Are we going to go to my state? Are we going to go someplace else? It makes a massive difference in terms of cost. Okay, I'm going to give you one more thing before I turn it over to Adam. If we were not talking about affiliate marketing and we were talking about liability for content on the internet, this would be very simple because there's a law called the Communications Decency Act. And what this says is no provider of an interactive computer service is liable for this content provided by another party. So what does that mean? If somebody goes on Facebook and says, hypothetically, they don't like lawyers, total hypothetical, and they said some really, really bad things, well, Facebook is not responsible for it because this law is a complete out. They are not responsible because they provided the service, but they're not the ones who made the speech. Now, it's a big open question. Can we relate this into the affiliate world, into the network model? Speaking just as myself and not as my firm or my clients, it's interesting whether or not that might fit in. But this is the huge out. Without this law, Facebook wouldn't exist, MySpace wouldn't exist, blogs wouldn't exist. Let me give you an example of how this plays out. Okay, there's this website, don'tdatehimgirl.com. I don't think I have to explain to you what this website's about. It's generally not for women going on the site saying how wonderful their boyfriends are. I'm sure that the posts about Brandon are not very flattering. Before I analyze the legalities of this, I have to say, as a member of the male gender, this is a horrible use of the internet. But this is out there, so obviously some unflattering things are being said. So what do you expect happened? Well, there was some guy who was a lawyer, and some things were posted about him, and he didn't like it. Mr. Todd Hollis, who lives in Pennsylvania. So he had a kind of a spotty, dating history. And some women had posted about him saying that he gave me herpes. And he wrote to the site and complained. And the site took it down. Then some other woman posted, I heard he was gay. He gave me an STD. And then he wrote to the site again, and the site again took it down. Then another woman said, his crib is a dump. And at this point, the site said, maybe Todd's not the greatest guy in the world. Maybe we should leave these comments up. Well, not to put down other types of lawyers, but Todd didn't know anything about the interactive marketing space, and he says, I'm a lawyer, I went to law school, I got this fancy degree in my law, I'm going to sue this website. So he sues the website, and everybody gets involved. ACLU, Electronic Frontier Foundation, they say, this is what this was designed to do, so that websites are not liable for the content of messages posted by their users. And eventually Todd gave up and probably went back to focus on his pathetic dating life. All right, so with that, let me turn it over to Adam, and we'll get back into the business aspect.
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Glad my wife didn't see that second. So, made some notes, but those lights in my eyes, all I see are purple dots now. So, what I want to talk about from the business side of running a network, I tend to think of things from a distribution perspective, being on the publisher side of things. And at LinkShare, we really look at the network, at our publisher network, as a breeding ground for innovation. And that's kind of what I want to touch on, and how as a network, we're looking to help publishers grow through different tools and technology. And as Mary Beth put it before, toolbox for certain types of publishers. So our overall product philosophy has been easy, fast, and open. That's been the mantra around LinkShare for the last year or so. Easy, making it easy to do business in the network, easy to get links, easy to get reports, easy to get data, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Fast, we all hear about real-time reporting. I don't think it's just real-time reporting anymore that's important. It's fast product information as well, getting inventory levels, things of that nature, thinking about product feeds from a speed perspective as well. And open, and this is kind of a word I've been using a lot, and you'll hear me say it a lot, is platform. The network has become a platform for advertisers and publishers and some of the third parties that Gary talked about to do business with. And we want to make it easy for everyone to access that platform and get the data that we have off of that, or our advertisers have put on that platform. And probably the easiest way to think about it is link distribution, right? So in my mind, there's all different types of publishers out there of different technical skill, different levels of skill. Some people like to do things their own way. So either I like to log into the interface and grab a link, or I want to download a flat file of product links and manipulate it myself, or I want to access the product files through APIs. And what we're really trying to do is create an environment where anyone can get links how they want it, when they want it. So one example of that is a coupon feed, and Mary Beth touched on this about how can we help publishers in certain verticals grow their business and increase the transactional volume through the network. So something like a coupon feed where we're aggregating end consumer offers for our publishers and able to push it out to them via a web service API, I think is a perfect example of that. As well, this helps coupon publishers in terms of streamlining their business, making it easier for them to do business in the network. A lot of coupon publishers I know are reading emails and just basically scouring the internet for coupons. We're putting it all in one place. but as well, it opens up a whole new line of distribution for our advertisers, because as everyone knows in today's day and age, everyone's looking for some type of end consumer offer, right? So you could have a content site, you could be a media-based site, and if you want to backfill inventory, you could get just end consumer offers. So overall, you know, I look at, when I think about affiliate marketing, when I first started, it used to be merchant, affiliate, destinationsite.com. And then it kind of started growing. And that's where we really started realizing that affiliate marketing is this platform, and the networks are this platform for much, much broader distribution. So you'll go to destinationsite.com, but they'll have a mobile app. They'll have their own downstream partners. They'll have a social media feed. They'll have RSS feeds, et cetera. So really taking the information that's in the network, aggregated, which I think is actually one of it seems obvious, but one of the biggest benefits of working with a network, any network, is the aggregation of merchant information in one place rather than managing it one-to-one. Imagine managing 700 or 800 or 2,000 in some cases, individual merchant relationships. But putting it on the platform and being able to distribute it throughout that platform. And what we've also done is we've taken a look at the other platforms that are out there, WordPress, Twitter, even some of the browsers, and creating technology on top of our technology to make it easier for brands to reach different types of consumers on different platforms. And what this does is it opens up a network to broader distribution. So from an advertiser perspective, I now have access to, God knows how many blogs are out there that are WordPress blogs, but someone who might not be a traditional affiliate, maybe they just work with one merchant, maybe they just work with Amazon, they now have access to links in the LinkShare network, and they don't even have to log into the interface. That's the beauty of it. We really want to make it a place where if you don't want to go to the interface, you don't have to. It's a simple plugin in WordPress. I think that's the best example, but also dashboard widgets, browser-based widgets. So it's really easy to hit a button, get a link, it's encoded with your affiliate link, and then you can push it out to your end users. So we've been thinking about this kind of concept of broader distribution, but we also, we realized that there's also the foundation of an affiliate program, which is your loyalty sites, your coupon sites, your search engine marketers. And what we want to do, and the way that we think about partnering with those distribution partners, is making it easy for them to integrate with the network so they could spend more time on business development and basically making more money, right? So it's easy to have links coming in because you're integrated with something like a coupon feed or a web service of links that are coming from the dashboard, as well as reporting, allowing the reporting to happen naturally. So you're plugged in either via web service, we have an XML feed. Basically, however you want to get it, you can log into the interface, you can set up an XML feed where we'll FTP it to you, or via web service. It's all automated. We want to create an automated process. And one thing I think that I kind of differentiate is transactional reporting and payment reporting, and being able to tie those two things together to make it really easy from an accounting standpoint as well. And that's something that we've really been focused on as well. So these larger partners, because a lot of the publishers I've seen over the 6 years I've been at LinkShare, they've grown, they've matured, and there's a lot of accounting rules that are in place now that weren't in place a long time ago. And these are things now that they need to tie together. They need to tie the transaction to when they got paid. And we want to make it easy for them to do that. We want them to focus on the business development aspect of things, creating those partnerships that are going to increase the transactional volume through the network, through the platform that is the network. So then lastly, I think it's worthwhile touching on in terms of kind of where we're going as an industry, as networks, especially just what I'm hearing kind of in the new year is mobile. And I think in the past, this is the year, 2007 was the year of mobile, and 2008 was the year of mobile, but I'm here to tell you that 2010 is the year of mobile. And there's been a maturity here where a couple of years ago, I think, we understood mobile to be a website or a .mobi domain, and then smartphones kind of came along and changed the game, right? You don't need a .mobi domain to see a website on an iPhone. And the way we kind of think about mobile, it's really the same as a traditional affiliate link on a publisher partner. It's just taking you to the merchant's mobile site. And mobile is I think the smartphones are just the start of it. One thing we've kind of been talking about at LinkShare is mobile is really the person, right? You are away from your desktop. How is information coming to you? And in the case of affiliate marketing, how are people interacting with e-commerce sites? So it might not just be your smartphone that you're comparison shopping on or scanning a barcode with to get a comparative price. I mean, eventually it could be things like, when the Apple the fabled Apple tablet comes out. Maybe it's your GPS. Maybe it is your Kindle or something else. I think there was an article that Ford has something where you could plug in, I forget if it's your iPhone or what, you plug it into the dashboard of your car, and in theory you could be driving by a store and boom, and then consumer offer pops up for that store. So mobile, I think, is really something that is a big expansion opportunity this year going forward, and where the networks play a key role. And the reason why the networks play a key role is because of this aggregated information that we have and this aggregated product information that we have from the merchants. So if you are building a mobile application, you're not going to call 700 merchants and say, hey, send me your product catalog. You're probably not even going to be able to get the phone number of the people who have it at, whether it's Walmart or Macy's or whoever it is. So by coming to the network, you're getting aggregated product information, and you're able to kind of pipe that into the mobile application that you're building. And we have some experience with that because our parent company in Japan, Rakuten, has a lot of experience with mobile. We've seen 50% year-over-year growth with mobile in Japan, and 15% of all of Rakuten's revenue comes from mobile. On top of that, just one of the stories we always share is that they buy big ticket items in Japan on their mobile phones as well. And there was a story where there was a merchant on Rakuten's mall that I think sold a couple of thousand sofas that were purchased over on mobile phones. Just think of that, like actually buying a couch on your mobile phone, which is pretty crazy. But we're moving in that direction. So that's my kind of 2 cents on the network's role and thinking about it from a distribution perspective and kind of being a platform for innovation for our publishers.
Okay. All right, so I think it opens up for a lot of issues to take a look at. I think one of the first things, Mary Beth, when you're talking about international, I mean, the first thing I think of when you're doing any international business, you have language barriers, you have currency barriers, you obviously have different laws where you are, you have different cultures and the way that people respond to things. How are you trying to juggle all of those different types of things when you deal with an international type program?
Very good question. I think of it as a Rubik's Cube, actually, when you're talk about all the 4 different things you mentioned, whether it's currency, it's language, it's cultural mores, it's actually adoption of online shopping and trying to fit them all together. And we really do look to networks and to our partners in other countries to educate us on that. And I think there is a significant opportunity. There is no international language, really, of affiliate marketing. There's an understanding of it in some countries. There's not an understanding of it in a lot of countries. Just the whole concept of pay-for-performance marketing. So how can I think it's really sharing the best practices of the US, and how can you apply that across different countries and to have a network who could be global, but then also have that local, whether it's the language, the currency, to have that flexibility as well, so that it's the inside blocks of the Rubik's Cube that turn around the way you need them to, because the outside ones are always the easiest.
So is it the network then that is, dealing with the currency differences and how things are going to be paid out to affiliates, or is the merchant involved in that at all? How do they deal with those differences there?
From what I've learned, it depends, which isn't really the best answer, but it depends on, so the merchant, it's usually different by the merchant because the merchant has a shopping cart, and that shopping cart is in either a core currency, or they have the option where you could change the currency if you want to check out. Based on that, the merchant will find a network, let's say in Germany or in Sweden, that deals with euros, that would have the same payout as the shopping cart currency. And then as an affiliate, you then sort of get what you get, which is you're going to get paid in euros, you're going to get a report in euros, whether you want that or not. So to me, the flexibility that comes in and the ease of working with a network, if you're not necessarily in Germany or Sweden, would be the ability to choose the currency that you, the affiliate, gets paid in. And there aren't too many. There's actually only one network that I know of now where you can choose the currency that you do get paid in, and that's Xanax out of Germany. But it's just there aren't that many affiliates asking for it, so why would they do it?
When you say they get to choose the currency, is that just at the exchange rate, or is the commission fixed at different rates for different currencies?
So it would be, and I apologize, I wasn't very clear. So when you get to choose the currency, for instance, the merchant transacts in Swiss francs. They report in Swiss francs. I could choose to get paid in Swiss francs, or I could choose to get paid into a US dollar account, so that you could then, you could control whether or not you wanted to take that exchange rate. So hopefully that answers your question.
I mean, Adam, I mean, with your business in Japan as well, I mean, how do you deal with, and you have a lot of global marketers, that are marketing, around the world, and certainly look at every, country as a market. How do you help those marketers, deal with those issues internationally?
Well, I think, what we find is that a lot of merchants in the U.S. are actually, working in Asia, period, is kind of an unknown for a lot of folks. So we can open an opportunity for them. We could open a market for them there. And the way we kind of have thought about it is we do have a network in Japan. We're a part owner in LinkShare Japan, and it's a joint venture, I should say, LinkShare Japan. But when you're working, at least in Japan, you need a totally separate bank account. It's not kind of a universal account through the network. But we've also thought about it in terms of shipping and giving merchants the ability to work through the U.S. network, but ship over to Asia as well. So that's one of the things that's on the roadmap for us for this year, is enabling merchants to get their products to consumers overseas. And it's interesting too, just thinking about, from a LinkShare perspective, we launched in the UK, and it's the logical next step from a language perspective.
Right.
But we realize there's a subject matter expertise that's needed by having people on the ground there, which we do. And just one of the funny things that occurred was having some US-based search engine publishers working in the UK, not having success bidding on the word pants because they should be bidding on the word trousers or something like that. So having people on the ground there and subject matter expertise, I think, is key as well.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about mobile. Mobile's obviously a huge thing, and actually, yes, every year is the year of mobile. Though I really think it's coming, and because with the younger generation, now I'm really sounding old, but I mean mobile is it. I think that I was once getting my daughter ready for kindergarten, and I had an extra quarter, and I'm like, here, honey, I'll put this in your bag in case you need to make a phone call. And she looked at me and said, how do you make a phone call with a quarter? It was just so alien to her. I mean, everything is mobile. I know with advertising and marketing, one of the big challenges of mobile is just different platforms. I mean, you design something and, if it's going to work on the iPhone, is it going to work on Android, is it going to work on BlackBerry? I mean, Adam, how have you seen folks who are getting into mobile deal with multiple platforms and making things work seamlessly, as opposed to on the web?
Well, it seems like a lot of people right now are thinking strictly about the iPhone and the Android platform. From the network perspective, though, like I said before, they're really coming to us for the product information, the standardized product information, wanting the merchants to provide UPC information in the feeds, and it then becomes incumbent upon us to push back on the merchants if they aren't providing that information. Some do, some don't. But I think there's an education factor there where you want the merchants to understand why the publishers need this information. There's so many cool applications out there now where you can scan it, and if they don't have it, there's no way that's going to be able to link back to the merchant site because there's no way a match is going to happen. So I think on the platform side of the mobile devices, I'm seeing, it's still iPhone, Android, I guess a little bit of the Palm OS, but I do think you're going to need to have kind of an open platform where everyone can plug into. And I'm not a developer, nor would I ever claim to be, so I can't really say I know specifically what needs to get done. But to answer the question, it's definitely the iPhones and the need from the network to have product level information. That's really where the network comes in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Mary Beth, are people when you get involved in a project, is mobile one of the top items people are involved in, or is everyone still focused? Let's convert on the web because that's where most of our base is.
It really depends on the client. There are clients, so we just launched a mobile app for our client Etihad, not on the earn side, but on the burn side, where you could look to see the products that you could redeem your miles for. And that's been very popular. It's currently on the iPhone. I don't know what the plans are for Android, but that was really driven by the client and the understanding that the members of their loyalty program use their mobile a lot more often than let's say for transactions and for shopping than people in the US do. So I think that you may see international clients driving the use of mobile applications and mobile shopping, perhaps more than those in the US. Because for a lot of people who don't have internet access, to a computer, their cell phone is it. And so that is that is where they would go to shop online.
And it's not even, I think when we think of mobile, we think of transacting on your phone, but I think also the phone or whatever the device is could be the delivery mechanism. So I have an application on my iPhone where it has my Stop and Shop frequent shopper number, and they scan it at the register, and pretty soon you'll be able to pump coupons in there as well. So I'm not actually transacting on the mobile phone, but I'm basically using it as a mechanism to get a discount.
Well, it can become a loyalty card, or
is.
loyalty cards, exactly, for whatever it is. So it becomes more ubiquitous.
And nobody mentioned the BlackBerry Storm once, so what I've got in my pocket is totally
I'm a
worthless.
retired BlackBerry guy, and it just wasn't cutting it, man.
So one big issue that always comes up in dealing with affiliate marketing is fraud. Everyone's trying to root out fraud, and if you heard some of the other sessions today, the question is who's responsible? The affiliates who are out there doing things improperly, the marketers, whose products are being promoted improperly, and the networks sitting in the middle, who are able to see to some extent what's going on. Seeing a lot of traffic, seeing spikes, seeing chargebacks. I guess starting with you, Mary Beth. When you're involved in a program, who are you looking to, and how much do you look to the network to be involved in that fraud issue, and how much is being taken on by your clients themselves?
I think the challenge with fraud is that it ruins, no matter what industry you're in, it ruins the rest of the game for everyone. And it can change the rules very unfairly because of that fraud. So anything that an affiliate could do to make sure that their own program finds fraud, especially in a loyalty program, if it's members who are shopping and redeeming too soon before they actually got the miles, it's really identifying anyone who doesn't follow the rules within the control that you have if that's your program. Looking towards the networks, they have a more global view of the sort of trends of fraud that could be coming, the types of people, the types of sites, whatever it might be. So we would, and I say we, I think a global affiliate, and by global I mean every affiliate, wherever you are, you look towards the network to let you know what's out there that you should be looking at from a consumer perspective that could affect your site and your revenues. Because otherwise you don't know until it happens to you, but you might not know that it's been a trend for the past 3 months, and oh yeah, by the way, you should have known about that.
Yeah, how do you guys combat it? You have a fraud group, who's looking at this, on a regular basis?
Well, we have a network quality department, and Mary Beth pretty much hit on it. We have network data, so I know typically how quickly a publisher ramps up in the network or in a specific program. And when we see unusual spikes, we rely on data. And we have people who investigate particular models as well. But we rely on data, and we have checkpoints throughout the life cycle of a publisher where we'll go back and we'll look at that publisher and say, does this make sense? Are we seeing this across the board? So we really rely on metrics to understand what's going on in particular programs, and we rely on the merchants as well. I don't see the credit card information, so if a merchant is seeing particularly high amounts of fraud from a particular publisher, we rely on them to notify us, and then we take appropriate action throughout the network.
So you're getting the calls from the merchant saying, I'm seeing all these chargebacks, it's coming from your network program, find out what's going on for us?
We'll basically figure out if we could tie it back to a specific publisher,
Right.
and then we'll take action.
So, a lot of folks obviously work with more than one network. You try to get out there. Maybe some of the large marketers will work with one, but you try to get involved in multiple ones. And of course, affiliates will work with tons of networks. How do you see, Mary Beth, the benefits, the drawbacks of being involved in more than one network, from both the marketer side and the affiliate side?
Sure. I think the fundamental reason why affiliates work with more than one network is they need access to more than just one set of merchants. And they also want to be able to have access, let's say, to more than one type of reporting, to more than one type of data feed, the quality. But it really, at the end of the day, is you work with multiple networks because you want to have these particular merchants on your site, whatever that site might be. In terms of looking at a network, to your second part of your question, Gary, of how you would, what do you look for when you partner with a network? I think it's what you look for when you partner with anyone in business or even outside of business. You look for someone who is truly interested in your business model, is listening and willing to help you, even if you start out with 0 sales. They're with you from the beginning, so that when you do get big, they were there helping you when no one else would believe in your business model. And then also giving you advice based on what they know within the industry. So they see trends, let's say, across the loyalty sites, without giving away any information that would be considered proprietary, sort of what are best practices. And there are networks out there that do work with you that way, and there are other networks who don't necessarily. And I think outside of the technology, right, there's good and bad about every network's technology. Again, nothing personal. I think it comes down to the people. And do you enjoy working with them, and are they there for you as the business partner that you need?
Yeah.
I advocate for working with just one network. But no, we recognize that there's other networks out there. We have competitors, and that's why on the LinkShare platform, we want it to be open, because I recognize that our publishers are taking data, and they're not just looking at their LinkShare reports. At the end of the day, they need to aggregate that. LinkShare, CJ, Google, ShareASale, whoever else they're working with. So we want to make it easy for them to pull that data out of our system and put it all together for them to do an analysis, because you're not going to be able to do a proper analysis of a specific vertical if you're just looking at the merchants in my network or just the merchants in someone else's network. So that's the way we look at it. And then in terms of on the relationship side of things, I agree with Mary Beth, and one of the things that we think is most important is cultivating publishers in the network. And it's tough sometimes to figure out who they are. There's tens of thousands of publishers out there. I mean, look at just the people at this show, how many people there are. But finding those right publishers, finding those kind of diamonds in the rough, helping them grow, becoming productive partners in the network, because it benefits everybody.
Well, on that point, you talked about data. It's a data-driven business. If you're working with more than one network, you're getting data feeds from multiple sources. Mm-hmm. And to Mary Beth's point, you've had a dream dashboard, which put it all together, put it in a funnel, so it came out into one nice report, and everything made perfect sense. That could be a dream.
It is a dream.
So what are some of the challenges that folks face on the data front when they're working with more than one network? Granted, you can get sales then from a wider group, but are you able to then analyze where are you converting better than other channels? Are you able to compare apples to apples?
I think the interesting challenge that affiliates face in looking at the true conversion is we send traffic to merchants, right? That's our job. And we rely on them and we help them to the extent that we can, that once they land on that merchant site, that traffic's going to convert. So what can we do? And that's where you really need a good relationship with a merchant to find out, we're sending you this traffic, where are they converting? What are they buying? I can tell you from an affiliate perspective who these people are that we're sending you. If I can add that one plus the one of the merchant telling me that these type of customers bought this, these type of customers bought that, new customers bought this, since that's the holy grail for merchants, then that equation will help make that conversion cycle that much more efficient. So I think that you can look at the data in a black box, if you will, as an affiliate to try to figure it out, but it's not a complete picture until you put it up against the actual data from the merchant. So just to see the full path of that consumer.
And I guess, Adam, from your perspective, you may get some of your clients that say to you, I need my data in a certain format or in a certain field or whatnot, maybe not to match up with other networks, or perhaps to do that, or to match up just with their other advertising that they're doing elsewhere besides the affiliate channel. How do you work with that and try to tailor the data?
Where we can, we'll build customized reporting, frankly. But on the advertiser side, there's a much smaller base as opposed to tens of thousands of publishers. So we've really tried to build it to scale so publishers can customize it on their own and basically pull out what they want. You can't have, if I had to build an individual report for every publisher in the network, it doesn't make sense to do that. I would love to, but it's not scalable. So we really want to create an environment where publishers can actually take what they want and customize it on their own. On the advertiser side, we're moving in that direction as well.
Mm-hmm. As we ask questions here, I want to invite anyone who wants to ask a question directly to the panel just to go right up to the microphone, and I'll certainly call on you and give you preference over us. I want to ask a question about dealing with consumers. Sometimes we're talking about affiliate network merchant, and we're just sort of focusing out that, the dollars are actually coming from the consumer. I mean, I know even just as a lawyer, I mean, I've gotten calls from consumers who have somehow found my contact information because I may be, listed as a contact on a domain registration for some service, and so the calls come into me.
You gotta love Google.
It's fantastic. I mean, I've gotten some very, let's call them colorful phone messages and emails, when people don't like what a client is doing. So let's, without describing them, talk about some of the colorful issues you do get from consumers that may come, I guess starting, with Adam. I mean, sometimes people may have no idea who LinkShare is, but, may see it in a cookie or something like that, and then try to find out who you are and try to contact you directly. I mean, how much do you see the consumer?
Honestly, not too much. It's usually when they've went to a publisher site and they do somehow associate it back to LinkShare. They will call us, or they'll call our support team, thinking that, I made a purchase on X loyalty site, where's my cash, where's my airline miles? So we'll just really need to refer them to the loyalty site or to whoever it is that they appropriately should be referred to, but not too much direct consumers coming to us.
I mean, how much do your clients, I mean, the affiliates are obviously, front and center with, consumers. I mean, how do they manage things? Are they sending it all over to the marketers to deal with? How are they, dealing with issues that come up?
That would depend on the client, right? Specifically how you would treat it. But of course, from a loyalty perspective, and it's good and bad, right? So from a loyalty perspective, if something doesn't track because a member is going to be asking for their reward. If you don't have a loyalty site, you have no idea if you're missing out on any sales because there is no one to catch it. There is no sub-affiliate, there is no other tracking mechanism that would let you know that for whatever reason, that sale did not get successfully attributed back to your affiliate. So in some ways, we're thankful to have those inquiries because it lets us know that there could be an issue. Oftentimes the issue is consumer education because they don't understand affiliate marketing in terms of why you have to start at a site to shop and why you need to have your cookies turned on and why you shouldn't open another browser window and things like that. And that education falls really on the marketing team of whether it's your client or your own site. And then it's really just making sure, like any customer, that they get the answer that makes them happy. Because they're not going to necessarily blame, let's say Target, for example, if they didn't get their miles, they're going to blame the airline, or they're going to, blame the site if they didn't get their college savings, whatever that might be. So it's wherever you can, making sure that end consumer is satisfied, even if it's money out of your own pocket.
Yeah, because consumers are getting savvier and savvier, right? So I want to get my miles or my college savings, and then I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to do a search for a coupon as well. And they don't realize that when they went to, let's say, You Promise, and they've clicked through a link for Macy's, and then they go to Google, search for a Macy's coupon, and click on a coupon cabin link. They don't understand that the cookie got overwritten, and it's the last click in, and now they're not going to get their miles or their college savings.
Nor do they care.
Nor do they care, exactly. So they're getting savvier, and that creates an issue as well in terms of, on the publisher side, really to educate the consumers as to specifically what the rules of the game are in order to get appropriate, credit for that sale.
Yes, Rebecca?
Thank you, Gary. I don't think this is on.
Microphone on for audience speaking.
I'm loud. I'm with the Performance Marketing Association, and we're a trade association, and now I don't have to speak so loud. So the industry faced some legislation battles last year, and it's continuing this year, where there's some legislation that's anti-affiliate industry. And I saw this amazing thing happen between the networks, where all of a sudden, networks started working together, sharing information to help us fight legislation at certain sites. And I was speaking at a conference on a panel hosted by Media Trust, which is a network, and they called LinkShare and said, hey, you had that great map of affiliates in the state of New York. Can you send that to me? And you guys did, and I know you guys put together a brochure, and CJ put together a brochure, and it was tremendous to see the networks who compete working together. What are other ways you think the networks will help the industry by working together?
Well, I think this was a perfect example of a need for everyone to come together. We don't hate each other personally, in any stretch of the imagination, but I think that the affiliate tax legislation was a perfect example because everyone is going to get hurt. Affiliates, merchants, and I think it was the right thing to do, right? It was the right thing to do, and I think as long as there are, it's hard to say because I don't know what the specific issues are, but whatever issues come up, as long as there's controls around it, we have no problem working with our competitors if it's going to help move the industry forward. And that's something you hear a lot, moving the industry forward. We're all smart people, we're all good people, we all know the business, and if there's an opportunity to move the industry forward, we're game.
I would love to see that, and that's a fantastic example. Thank you so much for sharing that of really that co-opetition, right? Coming together when the house is being attacked. So how could you take that, and I say this is a challenge to you and any of the networks out there, and there are a lot of networks out there, how could you take that conversation and have it be proactive? So it's not necessarily, yes, you're working to protect, again, the house, the pie that we're all working so hard for, but then also how do you take it forward in some more proactive ways, whether it's, standardization of certain things or something that's going to make it easier to make that transaction, to get the affiliates, to get the merchants, and really, keep generating the significant amount of transactions and money that go through the networks.
Yeah, and I think like network quality is something that comes to mind. And we've had some conversations, with our competitors as well, kind of high level, but what can we do to help eliminate fraud? What can we do, to make sure that everyone's playing nice in the network and, again, within reason, share information together. And it's something that we're open to, and I think that we are moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at it all together because, and I think what you're trying to do to get everyone involved is to stave off two things. Number one, regulators taking actions against members of the industry, and number two, new laws being enacted. And, hypothetically, if, all the networks, agreed on a code of conduct and all worked perfectly together and everything was beautiful, but affiliates were still doing bad things, then, regulators are going to still take action. Because at the end of the day, they're out there to protect the consumers. They're not out there to protect the affiliates or the networks or the merchants. So while we sometimes, look at it, horizontally, we have to look at the whole, vertical of the industry and make it all work together because unfortunately with so many different parties, if we go back to, my slide with the bubbles, if there's a weak link there, you're still going to have a regulator who say this is not enough. I can draw an analogy. One of the very, very hot topics, in DC is on behavioral advertising. And the major trade associations got together and put together principles for behavioral advertising. And it was mostly publisher focused and media company focused. And when they presented it to the regulators, they had spent so much time on it. The regulators said, this is great, it doesn't go far enough. It's not enough. Because they are really looking for everyone to be in this together. Because there's one weak link there, and it's the consumers are still going to be calling and complaining. No matter how great 95% of the folks in the industry are. But it's a great point, Rebecca, because everyone's goal is the same. Everyone's goal is the same. Let the regulators go after somebody else, and let them pass new laws about highway construction and healthcare, and not about us. Let's talk about one other thing that we kicked around earlier about out-of-the-box network solutions. Now, I will say I love LinkShare beyond belief. Full disclosure, my law firm does work for them. They're fantastic, nicest people in the world. But there are out-of-the-box solutions.
Nice people? Yeah.
You said you knew, Reggie.
I have to say that. But there are, you're a small marketer, you're a small affiliate, and you're saying, I just want to go to, CompUSA, buy my network solution, put it in, and make it work. In terms of, there's things out there that can track data and whatnot. Have you had experience with, smaller folks who are working with, sort of plug-and-play solutions of their own?
I've had some experience with it, and the companies we're talking about are companies like LinkTrust or Direct Track or Has Offers, where you can literally buy or lease, I guess, from a fee, their software that would allow you to set up your own network. And I actually think that it could be a trend in the future for not just smaller players, because smaller players are probably very well serviced by larger networks because of the reach and the fact as Adam was saying, you try to make it as easy as possible. But I think I could see out-of-the-box solutions working for bigger players who are looking to partner with certain merchants, whether it's in the U.S. or for us, it's international, that either have no interest in becoming part of an affiliate marketing program, so they don't want to work with the network, they only want to work with one partner. They don't want to do it directly. They want to be able to, to have an easy solution to integrate for tracking. And on the affiliate side, the affiliate would then want more than just one of those type of relationships. They'd want a few of them, and that out-of-the-box solution would allow them to almost have their own network. So instead of one-off relationships, you might have 10 to 1. and they're all being run through the out-of-the-box network.
Don't you find that the larger publishers, though, are pretty much plugged in to the larger affiliate networks, right? So the more networks, and I'm not saying I'm not an advocate for more networks and competition, but just kind of for discussion's sake, you know,
Yeah.
the more networks there are, the tougher it is for everyone to kind of plug in and integrate technology, right? So it becomes almost a hindrance in a way that if a larger distribution partner isn't set up with, you know, out-of-the-box solution 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
it's going to be harder to get onto those, you know, your core affiliate sites.
Very true, and I may not have been clear in describing that. So let's say, for example, I am LoyLogic, and we want to work with Lowe's, right? And Lowe's, we want to work with Lowe's in the US, and we want to work with IKEA in Sweden. Neither of them has an affiliate program. Neither of them is working with a network. They don't have any interest in doing that, but they're willing to work with us on a one-off. And so instead of us doing two separate solutions, two separate invoicing, we would have our own network solution that would be the LoyLogic network that would not necessarily be competing with all the other networks out there. It's really more of a technology solution so that we could more efficiently, just the same reason why affiliates work with networks now, we could more efficiently within ourselves work with those two different merchants and have tracking and have it set up in a standardized way. Again, what we're all looking for and what networks do provide. So it's not necessarily we'd go out and sell our own network. It would more be a solution so that we could work with these merchants that haven't decided yet to sign on to an affiliate platform.
I'm just biased.
I know you are.
All right, so let me give just one last question. Oh, yeah, right there? Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear you from there.
My name is Yunus, and I'm from DigiTouch, which is an affiliate network from Turkey. I had a question because it's kind of between business and legal. One of the first things that we noticed when we spoke to merchants in a mature market, so not like America, let's say your state 6-7 years ago, is that merchants would say, with that pixel, you would be always able to track the data of every single conversion if you wanted to. And technically it's true. I could be able to see every single transaction, even the volumes, the baskets, whatever, if I wanted to. And how do you legally kind of give them the confidence that you wouldn't be doing this? And basically, how did you overcome the situation? Because I'm sure you have the same issues over here.
Well, I'll just say very quickly, I mean, in terms of, you know, global issues with cookies, there are some, you know, big changes coming. The European Union has, you know, passed a new directive about affirmative acceptance of a cookie. It's a radical change and could really change things in the way privacy is handled with cookies in the EU and the US. It's a challenge for any company that's operating internationally. I don't know if you've ever gotten any such specific questions.
Well, I mean, our core tracking is not cookie-based, so we don't, you know, we're not relying on the pixel in that regard. And it's what the merchant sends to us. So, you know, the transaction happens on the merchant side, they're sending it over to us. So we're not, we don't want any PII. We don't want you to send it. I don't want the credit card information or anything like that. So it doesn't impact us as much in that regard based on how our tracking is set up.
All right, I'll give a quick, yep.
I was going to say, from coupons.com, the way you handle that scenario is we set up a separate publisher ID, which is essentially a separate instance of the site for each individual partner. Thus, when a pixel fires in the confirmation page, it's totally unique to that merchant, and they're not crossing paths.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
All right, so just let's give like the last, 30 seconds each before you all take off and fill out the greatest evaluations of any session at Affiliate Summit. Where do you see the industry going in, 1, 3, 5 years, going forward?
We're going to start with me?
Sure,
Okay.
30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Where I see the industry going forward in the next 1 to 3 years is on the same path where it's going now. And I think that path is further cooperation among affiliates, among networks, and really educating those people outside of affiliate marketing within the merchants themselves and then within prospective merchants who want to expand into e-commerce, the value of affiliate marketing to their business and why it is not only a viable channel for any merchant out there, but it's one that they have to be in, both domestically and internationally, in order to be able to beat their competition. That would be my cell phone.
I think it's really, the affiliate networks, affiliate marketing is a this is a platform for innovation, and you're seeing more and more types of distribution partners coming into the network that traditionally you did not see. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, whether it's mobile or something we're not thinking about now, and I think that the network's going to be the place to leverage, like I said earlier, product information onto these new distribution platforms that are out there.
And my prediction is that lawyers will still be here.
And the Jets are going to win.
Sorry
the
about
Jets are
that.
gonna win.
And the Jets will win the Super Bowl. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks very much to our panelists as well.
Thanks, guys.
There's always one person.